All right. Hi. Hi, Christy. Welcome. I want to welcome you and have you introduce yourself. But first, I want to tell a story. So, my story is I've known who you were for years and years. And I was just at family reunion and I remembered, I don't know how many years ago, probably 6, 7 years ago, being at family reunion and I knew who you were, and I knew you were a big deal because you had been on stage with Gary. And I saw you walking down the hall in the convention center. I'm like, I want to go say hi, but I'm too scared, so I didn't. And now we're friends and we work together. I've taught classes in your office, and you've just been such a supportive mentor to me from far away. So thank you.
Oh, well, you probably didn't know. I probably know who you were too. See, that's the thing with us introverts.
Yeah, it happens. But I'm sure most people know who you are and know your brand. But just in case there's an extrovert watching or something, do you want to give a little overview of yourself and your business and what you're up to?
Happy to. First of all, thank you for having me. I love this space that you've created in this side of the world. It's so needed. So I'm really excited to chat with you. I'm Christy Belt Grossman. I am the CEO and founder of Ops Boss Coaching. And my background is 10 years in the mortgage business, running operations, and then 23 years on a real estate team. And then I founded Ops Boss Coaching 7 years ago to really focus on the wizards behind the screen and coaching, education, and community for them. I'm super, super passionate about that side of real estate, and I love doing it. And that's the short version.
Yeah, and you're the best at it, and you've become this beacon for people who maybe don't want to be an agent. Maybe that's not their strong suit, and they can really thrive in other capacities.
Agree. Agree. The forgotten ones, I call them sometimes. But I was blessed to be on a team for 23 years that gave me incredible opportunity by me helping build the team. Opportunity came back to me. We were one of the first teams to do $1 billion in sales in the country. And that just opened a lot of doors for me. So I'm very grateful for that. But yes, I am not a salesperson or an extrovert.
Me neither. Me neither. So you touched on it a little bit already, but tell us how you first got into real estate.
I was born into it, like many of us, right? I was part of a family team, and I grew up a long time ago. I'm obviously a little older than you. Back in the era before email, before cell phones, when every realtor had their home phone number and picture on their business card. And so when I was 10, 15, 20 years old and living at home, I was basically the one answering the phone round the clock because my mom was a top producing salesperson. So I swore I would never in a million years be in real estate. And then when we bought our first home, when I applied for a mortgage, I was recruited to join the mortgage company on the operations side and fell in love with operations, real estate operations, and then made a change into the real estate side of things when I decided, you're going to laugh at this because I know a lot of people struggle with balance and counterbalance in real estate, but I
Mhm.
was looking for a better balanced life when I had my children. So I went back to the family team, who at that time was just my mom and my brother, and said, you guys need an assistant and we need to form a team. And it was a kind of a new concept at the time. And we decided we would try it for a year and see how it worked. And 23 years later, it worked really well.
So you
So,
are very much ahead of the curve on that one.
yeah, we were. And I think, the mortgage world was already that way, right? We had closers and underwriters and processors and loan officers, but real estate teams weren't really working that way.
Mhm.
So it was a newer concept, but it makes a lot of sense where everybody gets to sit in the seat they like the best.
It does, yeah. I do think it's funny. I haven't really talked about this at all or thought about it. I'm gonna think out loud for a minute. I do think it's funny how in some of the books that we read, like the one thing it talks about the myth of multitasking and how it's impossible to do two or more things really well at the same time. And yet the majority of agents are doing 100 things all at the same time and probably none of them like really, really well. It's just juggling all these plates. So I think that's kind of funny.
Yeah, it's interesting. And I think a lot of us, even though we're doing all different things, the commonality is that we care about people and want to help people.
Yeah,
I think
absolutely.
that's the majority of people in real estate. And yes, we make money doing it, but really, I think that's what drives most people.
I think so too. And that'll be a big factor as we go through this next shift. The people who really are coming from that really good-hearted place, they're the ones who are gonna, get through it and thrive.
Yeah. Yeah. Keep your why in front of you.
Yeah. You were one of the very first people who started talking about being an introvert, at least on social media. I remember a post from, again, years ago, family reunion. You said, I need some time to recharge. And I was realizing that about myself too, because I didn't always know that I was an introvert. I didn't know my energetic needs. And once I started realizing them, some things just really resonated and stuck with me, and that was one of them. And then the next time I went to a big conference and came home, I did give myself a day or two to just do nothing, and it made such a big difference. So, my question is, how has being an introvert changed the way that you run your business and or run your life?
I think you hit on the first thing, which is energy management. Energy management, not only you have to be protective of your energy as an introvert, but it also gives you joy, right? And so I'm very purposeful in even when I was on my real estate team, I've actually been working virtually probably for about 15 years. And that was a shift in energy so that when I was physically present in the office, training, doing coaching meetings, accountability, I could bring all the energy that the people needed that I was going to be with, but I can't sustain that for 40 hours a week. I
Yeah.
have to have that recharge time. So I'm very purposeful in my time blocking to create space and joy and creativity and all the things that fill me up from inside so that I can be what I need to be with my team, with my clients, and all the rest of it. Yeah. But that's been an evolution of trial and error and lots of failure,
Yeah,
you know.
absolutely. And it's different for everyone too. I mean,
Yeah. What I found was when I don't do it right, I know I'm not doing it right because I start getting resentful of spending time with people. And
mm,
yet my whole job, I mean, I coach and I teach and whatever. I love my time with people. It's not that I don't, but when I start feeling resentful, I'm like, that's because I haven't had enough downtime to recharge. And so I have to be really purposeful about creating that ahead of time.
yeah, that's a really great trigger or sign for
Yeah.
people. I haven't thought about it in those words, but I'm the same way.
Yeah. And same thing for it's not just recharge time after, it's recharge time before. So, like going to a conference, I'm going to fly in a day or two early, get the lay of the land, know where I'm going to get my coffee, where's a little quiet place I can go hide, how far is my hotel room, like all those little things, and just have a little me time before I go full on and engage. Same thing where, when I was on my real estate team, I always sort of had a little picture in my head of I'm walking in and mentally I'm putting on the pink cowboy hat with all the sparkles. And once I walk through that door, I've got the imaginary pink cowboy hat on because I want to recharge. I want to be high energy and positive with my people. And then when I walk back out to my car to drive home, it's like, phew, that thing's coming off, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's not being someone you're not, it's just managing energy.
Yeah. 100%. I'm sure everyone who's watching this can relate to that when you're feeling like you have to be on for a certain amount of time, but you can't be on forever.
Yes. And I think that's the difference because people will see, I'm sure with you, when you're up on stage and you're presenting or you're teaching, you probably don't really look totally like an introvert because you're up on a stage, right?
Right.
People say that to me all the time when I'm teaching my classes, like, you don't seem like an introvert at all.
Right.
And yet I have a partner, one of my partners in my business, Stephanie Brackett. She's an extrovert. She finishes teaching a class and she is on cloud nine, ready to talk to people for hours. And I just want to go and hide in a closet and close the door and turn out the lights. Not because it was bad, but because it was great. And now I just need to breathe, you know, it's just different.
Same. Absolutely the same. It's so crazy. It's so crazy the difference when you start paying attention to the stuff and seeing the differences of how people are and what they need. So I think awareness is the first step. And then the second step, which a lot of people I see them struggle with, is giving themselves the permission to take what they need because a lot of times there's a time commitment involved. Do you have any thoughts or advice around that piece for people?
You know, it's interesting. I think you have to think about situations before they happen so that you're prepared for how to handle them. So, like for you did a great script earlier on this call. You said, I'm just gonna, or maybe it was before we got on. I don't remember. You said, I'm just gonna think out loud for a minute. And
Yeah.
I was like, that is a beautiful script right there. And so I see, for example, in our world, with real estate operations, a lot of people are working with high D, fast moving, extroverted people, and they need to learn how to say, I hear what you said. I need to think about that and process it, and I'll get back to you tomorrow. You know, so you know ahead of time that when I'm starting to feel that pressure, this is what I'm going to say, or this is what I'm going to do.
That's a great point. That's a great script too. And
Yeah.
I think everyone can use that even with their clients. For the solo agents watching, you can use that with your clients so you don't feel that pressure. I work with a lot of new agents and they're always so nervous. Sometimes they don't even want to work with a client because they don't feel like they're ready. What if they ask me something I don't know? Just say what you just said. Let me
Yeah.
find the answer. Let me go double check and I'll get back to you
I
in.
want to make, I know the answer, but I want to make sure and I have the exact right answer for you. So let me get back to you. Like there's lots of little, and sometimes the best script is no.
Yeah.
You know, when it comes to social occasions or people want you to do things that you're just is not in your comfort zone, or you know you need downtime, you don't have to explain why.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, I can't do that, but I can do this.
Right. I say a lot of times I don't have the bandwidth for that. And that's super vague.
Yes.
So it's an answer, but it's really not an answer. That's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
I
love
think we get to decide for ourselves what we need in order to show up as our best selves. Right.
yeah,
And ultimately, that's what our client or our teammate or whoever it is wants, is when we show up as our best selves, we have our best interaction between us. They get the best result when we are each at our best. So that's up to us to protect and make sure that we are showing up as our best.
yeah, absolutely. I love that. All right, last question for you. Let's say somebody is watching and they are really struggling. They're a solo agent and they're like, I don't know if this is my path. What you are the go-to person for all things team, all things operations. What are some other alternative career paths that somebody could have within the real estate world, that, and how will they know like what's a good fit for them?
I think I would start with what do they like and what do they not like? In any role in real estate, there are going to be things that you're comfortable with and uncomfortable with. And you can't live in the comfortable all the time. You can live in your skill set though, most of the time, right? So I would say you have to be clear on, am I not liking sales because I'm not liking being uncomfortable, or am I not liking being an agent because that's just not the things I have to do to be successful as an agent are not in my skill set. So, for example, I can do sales. I was a loan officer. I made huge amount more money at the time as a loan officer than I did as a loan processor. But I was miserable every single day, all day. I just didn't like the things I needed to do that were part of being a loan officer. What I did like is when after I took loan application, I loved doing all the paperwork and the processing and the details and making sure the I's were dotted and the T's were crossed. That's skill set. So once you know skill set, maybe I like paperwork, I like detail, I like process and systems, then your whole world opens to a whole new other array of opportunities in real estate, whether that's transaction coordination or listings. It could be you're super creative and good with systems. So you could do real estate marketing or social media. There's director of operations. Some people like to execute systems and some people like to build systems and some people like to do both. And each of those skill sets give you different areas that you can explore within real estate. And with teams, there's so many opportunities.
That's awesome. I love talking about that because I don't think it really gets talked about enough in enough places.
I mean, I think there's a lot of people that come into real estate, like we were talking earlier, because they want to help people. And that doesn't have to mean helping them by being the realtor and selling. I've never even been licensed. Now, I would not recommend that. I would tell everybody who wants to be in any seat these days to be licensed, but I'm not licensed. But I love helping people. And so if you love helping people, you might be a great client care manager for a team where you're helping your buyers and sellers solve problems, or you're holding their hand through the process when they're nervous about what things are going to happen between contract and close. There's lots of places where you can help people that don't look like going on listing appointments, going on buyer appointments, negotiating contracts, and working at 7 o'clock, at night and 7 o'clock in the morning, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's another reason why we see people come to ops, is to have a little bit more control of your schedule,
That's a good point. That's
right?
a
Now,
huge
you may not
benefit.
make as much money in operations initially as you could, but over time, if you're really good at what you do, you can increase your income potential on the operations side.
I love that.
So lots and lots of opportunity.
Yeah, there really are. There really are. Even if you have to go out to a different market, I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of work that can be done remotely too.
There's most, it's interesting right now. We're in the midst of kind of a switch back. We had that whole, everyone was open to virtual, and now less people are open to virtual. So I think that the higher up you go and the more your career has advanced, the bigger the team is, the more likely they're going to want you in the office. But if you're
That makes sense.
talent, they'll work with you,
Yeah,
right? Yeah, lots of opportunity.
yeah. Well, this is great. Thank you so much. It's so great to hear from people who are succeeding at a very, very, very high level and using their, the personality that we were born with as a strength and not a weakness. And I think a lot of times society makes us feel like it's a weakness and it's really not.
It's interesting in our community on the operations side. I literally popped into Slack with my team. I have a team of 12, and I'm like, I'm doing an interview in 10 minutes. I need you guys, and I kind of know what the answers are going to be, but I wanted to see. I need to know, are you an introvert, an extrovert, or an ambivert?
Mhm.
And we have 2 people only on the team who are extroverts
Oh, wow.
out of 12. And that would probably hold true of, and 2 people said they were probably ambivert,
Mhm.
and the rest of us are introvert. And I think that would hold true in our operations population across real estate. It's about 2/3 to 3/4 introverted, and then a few ambiverts and a few extroverts.
That does make sense. I mean, we do tend to like to be not in the forefront.
Which is perfect for an agent, right? Who, especially if with an agent, your name, your personality is your brand oftentimes, right? So it's great to have a shotgun partner who is just happy to be behind the scenes. And a lot of the things in operations and real estate lend themselves really well, in my opinion, to people who are introverted. Introverted people are often good listeners, right? So it's beautiful for client care. They're often able to focus at a high level, right? So they can really, which is what you have to do to build systems. So there's a lot of positives, and they can still be extroverted in other ways. Like you said, you saw me on social media. Like, I'm very extroverted on social media, but that's because it's a safe place for me to still be introverted behind the screen, right? So lots of opportunity.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much. Where can people find you if they want to follow you or see anything that you have to offer?
Awesome. They can find us at opsbosscoaching.com, and that's OPSBOSS. They can follow me on Instagram at Christy Belt Grossman or at OpsBoss Coaching. And thank you for having me and bringing light to this topic.
Oh, my pleasure. Thank you so much. This was great. I'm gonna end the recording.